The past few weeks, the story has been building quietly until now. Across the United States, a growing list of scientists, experts in nuclear physics, aerospace engineering, and advanced defense technologies have been reported dead or missing under circumstances that investigators still can't fully explain. Some work for agencies like NASA, the Department of Energy, and the Department of Defense. Others were connected to classified research, cutting edge propulsion systems, or national security programs. And now, at least 11 of them are at the center of a widening federal investigation. But what's raising alarms isn't just the number, it's the pattern. Disappearances during routine outings, sudden deaths without clear explanations, cases that range from alleged suicides to confirmed homicides, all tied together by one unsettling thread: proximity to some of the most sensitive scientific work in the country. Government officials are calling it serious. Some lawmakers warn it could be a national security threat. Others caution that the cases may be unrelated, but admit the coincidence is hard to ignore. So what's really going on? Is this a tragic series of unrelated events, or something more coordinated, more deliberate, something hidden beneath layers of security? In this episode, we break down the timeline, the individuals, and the unanswered questions behind one of the most unsettling stories in the headlines today.
What do you see when you're in the dark and the demons come?
One, two, married stories for you.
Welcome to Buried Stories. I'm Jeff Mercurio. With me tonight, Wendell Brown. Wendell, how are you, man?
Hey, brother Jeff, how you doing? This is a good topic, man. It's a
Yes,
good topic.
yeah. This this one was brought to my attention by my wife, Nicole. So kudos to her for bringing it to my attention.
Yeah.
And also joining me is Steve Mercurio. Steve, how you doing this evening?
What's going on tonight, man? Listen, what a story. Seriously, man. It's like sticking your arm down in the Easter basket and pulling out that 1 pound chocolate rabbit that takes you like 6 months to eat. You know what I'm talking about? You get
Yeah,
excited upon sight of this bunny, but then the back of your mind, you're like, dude, how am I going to eat all this chocolate? It's way too much. You know what I mean?
yeah,
That's
yeah,
how this story makes me feel. I mean, there's a definitely excitement behind it. I'll be honest with you, I was kind of worried. I feel like, listen, are we bringing attention to a story that obviously needs attention? But on the flip side of this, do we need to bring the attention? You know what I mean? Like, it
yeah,
starts making me nervous. Like, man, are we putting ourselves out there? You know what I mean? For some NSA researcher, some dude who just happens to look up certain words that are getting streamed online, and then it flags somewhere in the NSA, the CIA, and they bring it up and they're like, joke's on you. It's just three smucks sitting
yeah.
here doing this show, you know? So I don't know,
I
man.
hear you.
Like I said, it's something exciting, something to talk about. So yeah, very exciting topic tonight.
Got you. So let's start with the most recent. That was Amy Eskridge. Did you guys happen to look into her case?
To me, she's the most interesting of all of them.
Really?
That to me, yeah. I think that's a well. Let me start by giving a broad brush to the whole thing. I think it's getting way more publicity than it probably deserves. I mean, I think a couple of them are tied in. I don't think all 11 are. Um, but her story is like Bob Lazar's story, but Bob spoke before they killed him. But he did, I think she was in the same kind of research, the anti-gravity stuff. And she said she said her team's life been hell ever since they cracked anti-gravity or, and, and she was getting harassed and stuff, and then she ends up dead. And I would say to anybody in those fields, you better talk because that's your only protection. It saved Bob Lazar's life. I believe that wholeheartedly. I think it still does. I mean, there's 3 ways you can go, I think, with this. One, it's a foreign adversary taking scientists like we did the Nazis, forgive them all their sins, just work for us from World War II. But a foreign adversary taking Bob Lazar is not going to get anything else than you and I've got out of Bob Lazar for 50 years. Um, so that's out the window. Could be totally random, which is maybe um, probably the most logical is that one. The other is that um, that these people know too much, and if they think they're going to talk, they're not going to have another Bob Lazar. And I would highly recommend anybody in there. I mean, you got to keep your oaths and all that, but some people have moral compasses that go berserk when they get into this stuff. They're like, "Holy hell, look what we got! Everybody should know," and that's not the deal going in. So yeah, you really have to choose a side. Either you're going to be a whistleblower, and you better do it early, or you're in danger. I think because once you know that. Um, that information, I think you put yourself in harm's way. My son and I were talking about this, about maybe Lazar was right as far as we all wanna know the truth. I wanna know the truth, good or bad, I wanna know the truth, but maybe the truth is so bad, because this anti-gravity stuff, it's much bigger than the nuclear weapon, nuclear bomb, atomic bomb thing. That everybody was trying to get, all the governments of the world was trying to get the atomic secrets, back in the day. This is way, way past all that, and, so my logical mind said it says it's random, 'cause, there's one in there, the Nuno guy, his name's Nuno, MIT.
Yeah.
I mean, that was the Brown shooter that went to Boston and then shot him in his apartment too. I think that was just violence. Random violence that got him. Um, the Driscoll, I think his name, the major general, listening to his wife talk, they were older and he was really frustrated, um, getting physical and mental disabilities coming upon him. And I can see a major general, an alpha male, always in control, always the one everybody comes in at tries to get answers from. And I can see him getting frustrated. He folded his stuff up nice and neat, changed clothes, and left. Walked away and left his phone and his Apple Watch and all that. Um, so I'm leaning. I don't know about suicide, but he checked out. And but Amy Eskridge, I think that one's got some validity to it. That not our government, not the government we see on TV, not the Biden or the Trump administration. Not those guys, that's our government. I'm talking about the real government, the military industrial complex that they know that they have this information and they're not gonna share it. They're not gonna share it with our government or figureheads or anybody else. I found it interesting. It's neat that they're talking about this though. That Congressman Luna, you seen the lady that's pushing for the release of a lot of the information
Yeah.
on, disclosure? I like that she's kind of following Stephen Greer's advice, because he was told all the congressmen that when these people sit in front of you and said, "I'll tell you this in another private setting," he said, "Just come out and tell them that anybody that swore you to some secrecy, it's invalid. If we don't if we don't have oversight to it, if Congress doesn't have oversight, then their top secret clearance means nothing. Whatever you sign doesn't apply. Your non-disclosures don't apply, besides them taking a weapon out and killing you. But besides that, there's no legal pursuit that they're going to chase you with because they're not legal. And so Stephen Greer's been preaching that lately, and that's one of the best things I've seen him do. And that congressman's really taking it to heart, that Luna, and she's pushing him. And she requested the Pentagon to release a lot of information, and they pushed back, and they're not doing it. And she's taking it up the ladder to, Hegseth and Trump and whoever else but she wants it. She wants this specific information, and she wants it now. And she's not taking any excuses. So I think that kind of stuff's positive, and I think this story generated a lot of it, these 11 missing scientists, because everybody's talking about it. But back to your original question, Jeff, I think my logical brain says a lot of it's random, but there are a couple in here that are fishy.
All right, getting back to Amy Eskridge, Steve, do you got anything on her?
Well, it's interesting. She was the last one added, right? I mean, she was the 11th scientist. What I find fascinating is she was the first one killed, right? I mean, she was, if I'm going back and I have my timeline correct, Amy Eskridge is 6/11/2022, if I'm correct. Is that correct from your
That's
guys'
correct.
knowledge?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
So,
2022.
it's interesting that they go back and they look through the list and then they go ahead and add her in. Okay. I definitely think that her course of study, like Wendell was talking about, is highly suspicious, right? Anti-gravity, experimental propulsion concepts. If it's my understanding, again, is this self-inflicted gunshot? Is that what we're understanding?
That's what's
Okay.
been
Yeah,
reported.
that's what
Okay.
hers was.
So, I mean, from her, look, is her death mysterious? I think it definitely rings some bells, right? Like it definitely, especially with what she is in and what she's talking about, the pressures, the stress, and all that. And she had mentioned, possibly her life and other lives are potentially at risk. So I find that this is kind of like, if I would had to say, maybe, some of the outer concepts of some of these scientists. I mean, it'd be interesting. It'd be interesting. She was, like we talked about, where she was added to the list, and she's early on. It'd be interesting to see if there were any scientists not on this list. What was the criteria that met a scientist to be on this list? Is it just any scientists that are kind of exploring these topics as their course study, or is it have to meet certain criteria? Did you guys read anything about that?
All space tech clearances is what I got. All their clearances is what connected them all.
Well, I believe in this list there is one who was more pharmaceutical, if I'm correct, right?
Yeah, he
me
did
s-
cancer research.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. So that one also stuck out to me as well at a higher level of being on the list. But just speaking on Eskridge, again, her subject matter is highly suspicious. So, I mean, on the scale of like, if we're putting it from one being, I don't think there's much here, all the way to 10, like, boom, this is hitting all alarms and the government should be worried. You know what? I'd give Amy Eskridge probably a solid 5 when it comes to this story, because all her studies and all her statements that she was making kind of elevated. But then when you look at self-inflicted gunshot, and again, let's be honest, there are plenty of situations where we have had conversations where we've questioned self-inflicted gunshot wounds, right? So, I mean, could there be something suspicious there? Absolutely. But when I look at it from a kind of a higher view of it, I'd give her like a 5 to 6, somewhere in that range of whether or not it's suspicious and needs to be taken a look at, right?
Her saying she had to publish put me over the top. She just didn't talk in time, I think.
Well, Amy Eskridge, she was a aerospace engineer, and she was working on anti-gravity. She started a small startup company, the Center for Exotic sciences. Her focus was on unconventional propulsion concepts, things like advanced energy system and ideas that sit on the edge of mainstream aerospace engineering. She was primarily independent, leading her own research. She had connections to defense-related work and collaboration, as many of these propulsion engineers do. But public available information on her suggests she was not a high-ranking insider at places like NASA. As far as she felt threatened, from her company. She did start talking, like you said, Steve. She was saying, threats to her and the other people working for her. But however, no official investigation has publicly confirmed a specific threat, organization, or an individual doing the threatening. Now, it was a self-inflicted gunshot wound, and the parents are saying, hey, you know, uh, don't blow this out of proportion. Scientists do die just like everybody else. But I don't know who's actually tying all these people together, or if, like you said, they work kind of for the same thing in their fields of research. So that's probably what's linking everybody together. And I don't know if one of these people die tomorrow, will they link that to it as well? There's tons of people that are working in this field. So that's Amy's story as far as I could dig up is she had her startup company and she was working on anti-gravity propulsion, which as we know that'll get you looked at.
Who is next on the timeline?
Let's see, we got Michael David Hicks, July 30th, 2023. He worked for NASA Jet Propulsion Laboratory. This was in California. This was a death. This was cardiovascular disease, per the coroner's report. The death was investigated by the coroner, ruled natural causes, no foul play indicated. So this seems like one of those that have just been lumped in, if you ask me.
Yeah,
You know,
I didn't take a lot of stock in his. It just looked like
Right.
a heart attack.
well, what's interesting is, look, I don't know how true this is. You see a lot of things on social media that you really got to question, right? Um, Again, I don't know how true, and I'm not going to throw his high up on the list of it interested. I would say in his case, very much related to propulsion, specialized comets and asteroids. I found that to be
Yeah.
something. Look, major space missions, how asteroids could be deflected. Physicists with JPL. The heart attack again, I don't really find suspicious. Although, again, going back to the social media thing, I don't. It was said back in the 70s that the CIA has a gun essentially that can cause a heart attack. That when it shoots you, it's a small ice pellet type of thing that you're never going to find any evidence. Now, again, throw it out there. It's just social media. I don't know if that's true or not, whatnot. But I did find with the heart attack that kind of does seem interesting. But again, I guess on the list of scientists, I'd probably give this one maybe a 2 to 3. Like as far as does it deserve some extra review or anything? Again, I'm thinking this is probably lower on the list, maybe less suspicious, right?
Wendell, what do you think of this one?
Same thing. I think it was natural causes. I heard a lot with the people that were missing on this list, that the same thing, the Cuban microwave thing was making them do stuff or made them give up their life and walk away or whatever. But I find it interesting on some of these missing ones that they're missing, that nobody
Mhm.
knows where they went, and they walked away, and nobody knows that they drove. I don't think they got abducted by aliens or anything, but they're pretty crafty. to elude their family and friends. Like I said, the only other thing I could really plausibly think was that they wanted to disappear, that, maybe they thought, but I know that McCluskey, I think it's McCaslin.
Yeah,
McCas
we'll get to him, Wendell,
Yeah,
because
I
you know
I
that
don't
one we
think
got to talk about for a
yeah,
minute.
I
I
don't think
feel like.
his was, they're elderly, and, but anyway, we'll get to that, but no, on this guy, I don't no, if you just read the paper anymore, 47-year-olds are dying of heart attacks, these physical specimens are dying of heart attacks, it's
Yeah.
strange, athletes, so, no, I think this was just an unfortunate event.
Let's talk about Frank Maywald. The date was July 4th, 2024. He worked for NASA
Mhm.
Jet Propulsion Laboratory, California. This was also a death, but the cause was not publicly released. Police response: no public indication of criminal investigation going on, treated as non suspicious based on available reporting. Same place, but I don't know if they're even investigating this one. As far as right now, with the current, what do you call it? The current investigation that we're able to dig up, I'm not showing any criminal investigation going on right now. Steve, what do you got on Frank Maywald?
Well, okay. A couple key things that I've noticed about this one is the LA area. California is brought up on multiple of these scientists. I do find that strange. Again, what he studied looked like researcher, NASA jet propulsion. Um, I find the fact that look, you can go one of two ways with the death not having a public cause of death. Either it's just a nothing burger, right? Like they have their reason, maybe it was natural. I wish they would have said that though, like
Right.
passed away of natural causes or something, so we'd have but now on the flip side, you could look at it as hey, you're gonna put and make it seem so regular that it doesn't stand out, right? So if
Yeah. Yeah.
anybody asks, there's no investigation involved, there's no, I think what's missing is either a lot or a little bit. It's hard to put a peg on this one because again, the fact that there's no public cause of death and no investigation, it's a little odd. But again, I could be making a big to do of nothing here, right? I
Yeah.
mean, if they're not investigating, why are they not investigating? Again, they hold the cards, and I don't mean like the secret government. What I'm talking about is like LA, whoever
Yeah.
whoever the is looking into this holds the cards. Either there's something, so they know more than we do. Again, it's most likely, I'm guessing, natural causes. Probably again, not much to do. Only a couple things. So I'd probably give it a somewhere between a 2 and a 4,
Gotcha.
depending. So
All right, number 3, we got Monica Jacinto Reza. This one is a missing. Date missing, June 22nd, 2025. She's also from NASA Jet Propulsion Laboratory. Lost the location from her disappearance, Angeles National Forest, California. Vanished while hiking. This one I found quite odd because she was with a group of people and somebody had just turned and was talking to her, turned back, and then turned back around, and she was gone. Now, the sheriff issued a missing person alert. Homicide Bureau involved due to concern for safety. Case remains unsolved as of this time, unless you guys have something different on it. Wendell?
No, but her case is, I'd say to me, ranks right below Amy's case. The Jet Propulsion lab work, the Air Force funded research, that like I don't put a lot of stock in NASA. I mean, I don't mean to be a downer if you guys talk about NASA, NASA doesn't really impress me with stuff. But the Jet Propulsion Labs, Los Alamos, that stuff, those are the people I think have power. I think I don't think necessarily somebody, an engineer for NASA, has a whole lot. Actually, my house was built by a NASA engineer. He lived here before we did, and he did put some neat stuff in here. He's a good engineer, um, but I think NASA's more generic to me, where I come from. Like Steve was talking about, we could do the Mission Impossible route, and everybody's getting a poison pill or something put under their collar or something. But um, I really don't see that. But hers is really interesting. I'd put that in the same category with the Amy Eskridge one. That there's there might be something to that one.
Have you come across anything that solved this case? Because, like I said, this one still remains unsolved. Did you come across anything that'll close this case?
No, I didn't. That's why it's amazing to me these people are just gone.
Right. Yeah.
Now, if I wanted to put on my alien hat, which I sometimes do, yeah, there's a lot of ways you could go with this, but no, I think I think some people may hint or think that the world should know about some of the stuff they work on, and they talk to people, and it gets out, and if it gets out to the wrong people, I truly think you're in danger in that line of work. But
Gotcha. Steve, what do you got on Miss Reza?
Man, listen, I was giving out some early scores to some of these other people, but ding, ding, ding. Let this round begin. I mean, this one has got to be a solid 9 to 10. This has David Paulides written all over it. Missing 411, out hiking. I think I heard was like 40 feet behind the last person, and then suddenly she's gone. And if anybody watching this show is not familiar with David Paulides, boy, do you got some research to do, because this is Paulides all over the place. I mean, the only question I got, because some of the criteria for David Paulides was like, I mean, go back and look at some of the stuff, but I believe there was a Germanic background. I didn't look at for her to see if there was any German type background or anything. That would come up quite a bit on David Paulides, and then also intelligence and education that would often come up on Paulides' list. So I gotta tell you, I mean, this one deserves to be on the list. Like, if you were to cut this list down from 11, and you're like, hey, what are the ones that the government, if it's your job to decide and have the government like, hey, we don't have time to do 11, give us the top ones. This one's on their criteria. This one, you're handing the file back to the government. Hey, you need to put a couple agents on this one, because something's up with
Yeah.
this one. I mean, look, they never found nothing. Aerojet rocket dying, invented like Mondaloy nickel-based super alloys for rocket engines. Here we go with propulsion again. Look, seriously, this is one of those 9 to 10. This is one of those you really honestly need to be concerned about. Look, I mean, obviously she's out hiking, things happen, but what struck me is they said that they went back and brought in crews, right? And that's
Yeah.
what David talks about all the time is, somebody will call for emergency assistance. Emergencies there within a couple hours. They're out there searching. Nothing. They found nothing, right? I mean, I'm telling you, this one sparks a big one. This one is definitely got to be reviewed by someone much higher than us. That's for sure.
Yeah, and I would
And
think if you're gonna snatch somebody, you wouldn't do it when they're with a group of friends.
no,
Nope. No.
But go ahead, Jeff.
No.
yeah, like you were saying, Miss Ray's and the next two are the ones that piqued my interest so much. And like you said, Steve, it brings up David Paulides. 411 was the first thing I thought about when I was reading these. Stephen Garcia is the next person. Missing date, August 2025. He was a government contractor in Albuquerque, New Mexico. Walked away from his home with the handgun, left the phone, wallet, and car behind. Uh, Bernalillo County Sheriff's investigating. No evidence of foul play so far. Case remains active. This is another one that just left his house, left everything behind, and just disappeared. Wendell, what do you got on Stephen Garcia?
It's same thing, real similar to McCaslin, but, why? Because when I was reading these, I was trying, what would make me do that? You know, would make you, one, they didn't wanna be found. That's why they left their phone. I
Yeah,
didn't hear of any notes. Did you guys hear of any notes?
no
No
notes
note.
that I'm
No
aware of.
notes. Carried a gun, you could think, "Yeah, he's gonna go shoot himself," but I would think you'd leave a note. So they didn't wanna be tracked. They wanted to disappear, possibly, and if they did a hell of a job. Um, I don't know, it's a head scratcher 'cause, he obviously wasn't coming back. I mean, well, even the signs that he left behind said he
Right,
wasn't coming back. It'd be different that if he left and you expected him back based on what his actions were, but his actions said he wasn't coming back.
right.
And, so in that case, the first place I wanted to go was, somebody just left his stuff there for him and took him. But you would think there would be more evidence of that kind of thing. It just sounds like he walked off. Same thing with McCaslin, just walked off. And they left that stuff behind, so they did not want to be found. And I really can't go, I don't think they're dead.
Yeah, I
The
don't either.
I don't. Maybe the girl we just talked about that was with her friends, maybe that one, but because she didn't prep everything before she left, but Garcia, I mean, they didn't wanna be found. Maybe they wanted to get off the grid and had the means to do it.
Well, that
And
Reza
then what would be the
Reza is kind of
motivation?
different. That she was with a group, and that would be a hard situation to snatch somebody from a
Yeah,
group.
yeah.
And she disappears. And they could have turned around and found her dead there, but she's nobody knows where she is. And same thing with Garcia. He just up and left. I think it was caught on the ring cam or something leaving his house. Walks
And I
out towards the desert and disappears.
Yeah, and I come at this a little different because I truly believe I've bought that the anti-gravity thing has been cracked. Not that we necessarily know how to do it ourselves, even though I think we do to some extent. Um, it's there, and I think we know it's there, and I just think the world is catching up now that they're saying, "Hey, this is real," and then there's all kind of fancy things you could say are happening with these knowledgeable people disappearing, but, like you said, Jeff, though, I didn't really read on any of them that they were the key to the technology, that they were all just researchers and they worked it. I didn't hear any of them were the key to it.
Right.
So, I don't know how important they were, but I bought that this anti-gravity thing's here, and it's the most dangerous thing human beings have ever discovered, and, I think there's some shenanigans going on.
Steve, what do you think about Stephen Garcia and his situation?
Well, he absolutely, again, this is another one where you could throw into round two, right? Another disappearance, another individual that would definitely meet the criteria of somebody that the government should be highly looking at. I mean, this is, look, but I think the difference between him and Reza, like you talked about, Jeff, is, with Reza, she's out there with people. I don't expect to think that she expected that she was going to be missing or anything like that, right? Any operation that she would have had, let's say she did want to go missing. The one thing you could say is a little bit odd is I'm not sure exactly like the line of people hiking with her. If she's at the very end, you could arrange some sort of black op in order if she's like 40 feet back to probably do something, either snatch her or something. But whatever you got to do is going to be extremely top notch, professionally done at a very high level. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
With
yeah,
him, it looks like he actually chose. Now, I'm not saying he chose to disappear forever, but he definitely left home with intentions, right? Now, it doesn't mean, again, doesn't mean he meant to disappear. It feels like he meant to disappear, but that doesn't necessarily mean he did mean to disappear. He could have just been going about his day, starting something off, and then boom, something else happens. But I think this feels to me somewhere between a 7 and a 9 as far as like investigating files. Out of the 11, this one is definitely going to be handed back to the government. Like, hey, you need to check this one out along with Riza. So,
right.
very
Well,
high
and
on the list.
on Riza, Jeff, if you wanted to disappear, if you're her and she wanted to disappear and you're with a group hiking, how would you do it? I would think you would fade back and then
Yeah, but
disappear.
to absolutely disappear, I
Yeah, I
mean,
mean, that's what I mean.
when you got a
These people
police
are just poof.
investigation going on and you
Yeah.
got drones and helicopters and dogs looking for you, that would still be hard, and there'd be some evidence left there. I mean, yeah, if you wanted to, you could start, um, walking slower and get some distance in between and take a left somewhere, and kind of disappear that way. But
Yeah, yeah,
Garcia's one that just walked off.
yeah, yeah.
Absolutely.
Our
Absolutely.
next one, number 5 of these people, another New Mexico disappearance, is William McCaslin.
Well, hey, before we get to William, I
Right.
think we missed Melissa Casillas. She was 4 days after Monica Riza. uh June 26th, 2025. I think we missed her, went over and jumped her and went to um
McCaslin.
no, McCaslin was after that, but I think we jumped from the last one that we just did, Garcia. So I think 4 days after Monica Riza goes missing or is gone, Melissa Casillas. She was
Yeah.
administrative assistant at Los Alamos National Labs. They said she had her hands on the keys to almost every secret out there. She had very high security clearance. Um, it's weird because the reason why she doesn't stand out in one way is she's not really noted as a scientist, but a huge but she definitely had access to some of the most secure secrets that our government takes highly seriously, right?
Right. Yeah.
And here's another one where keys, wallet, phone left at home. By the way, her phone completely left wiped clean, reset to factory settings. I mean, listen, if this one ain't ringing bells, again, this is speak upon the last two, right? Garcia and Riza. This is another one where you're slapping that file right back. Like, dude, I don't even need to look at this file. Take it right back because you need to investigate this one. I mean, gosh, and I didn't even really see. I'm guessing she's gone because, like I said, phone left at home. Her wallet was left at home. Her keys were left at home. I mean, this is somebody that had access classified research, energy, material, science for national security. I mean, this one's the reason why they're publishing these 11 scientists missing. Again,
Right.
I don't know her exact educational background, but she's definitely deserves to be on this list from the access of everything we talked about: energy, research, national defense, you name it. This lady had her fingers on those buttons or very close.
Yeah, she definitely had the keys to many secrets there. The other thing that I saw is she dropped off lunch for her daughter. So she dropped off her lunch for her daughter, never returned also, and seen walking alone on the roadside. So the missing person investigation was launched. Case remains unsolved. No confirmed foul play publicly disclosed at this time. So there's another disappearance. It's mind-boggling. Wendell, what do you got for Missy?
Yeah, that's the one that I heard. I believe that's the one they thought was there was rumor in the conspiracy circles that they were using the microwave thing on her to affect her,
Right.
what her actions, what she was doing. The time on all this is peculiar to me because it, you know, with a lot of this research, I think, has been done a long time ago, but maybe they are starting to solve stuff little by little. And as they solve things, um, these people are all of a sudden knowledgeable. And and maybe there is protocol in place when these people do get to that point, um, that actions are taken. And I don't necessarily mean they're all nefarious actions, um, but maybe there's something that has to happen because her sounds like a typical Men in Black visit.
Yeah. Yeah.
It does, but her walking down the road doesn't.
And we got Anthony Chavez, date missing May 4th, 2025. Again, New Mexico, former employee of Los Alamos National Laboratory. Disappeared under unclear circumstances, limited public detail on last known movements. Police was responding, reported missing. No detailed public updates on investigation. Still missing, unresolved is the report as of this time. Another very strange just disappeared. Steve, what do you got on Chavez?
Well, you're starting to see the trend as we're talking about a couple people. These last couple ones, once we hit what was it, Garcia? Once we hit Garcia, we're starting to look at several from New Mexico area, right?
Yeah, yeah,
Earlier we were talking about some of the Los Angeles people and the California people starting to miss, and suddenly a couple New Mexico ones are starting up. This Albuquerque is showing
yeah,
up on the list quite a few times here. And
right.
I do think it's suspicious because now you have, and we'll come across another name very shortly on this list. That's again a New Mexico. Um, Possible Los Alamos. I mean, it's that again. This is another one. If you're handing these files back to the government, like this one's, you're seriously another somewhere between 7 and 9 or 8 to 10. Somebody essentially disappearing. No real explanation for what's going on. Yeah, I mean, this is one that's got to start making some heads wonder, hey, there's some there's some definite things related here, right? I mean,
Absolutely.
yeah. So I mean, yeah, this is another one really high up on this list. Makes you think that there's definitely something here that this isn't coincidence.
Right. The other one, as far as the missing that I've come across, was William McCaslin, and he went missing February 27th, 2026. He's a retired U.S. Air Force, supposedly classified program ties, disappeared from New Mexico's again, left home with minimal belongings. Large scale search was implemented, drones, K9 units, multi agency. The only evidence found so far was a clothing item, and he is still missing, and it's unsolved so far. This guy, I think he's the one that ties everything together almost.
If you had one that was the key to it, he was the one because he
Yeah,
wasn't just connected to the research labs lately. He was his whole life. He's grown up in it and grew up in the defense industry in some of the most secret labs and research facilities that we've had, including the Lazar years. And he was definitely connected. Um, his wife just had a. Have you heard her 911 call?
I did not yet.
Yeah,
I did,
it's
Wendell.
a little weird. It's kind of calm. She called when he was missing 3 hours because she found his stuff on the table. And so it is definitely fishy, but out of all of them, this guy was the most connected out of everybody. But from what his wife said, that they've been fighting elderly mental and physical degeneration, and he was really aggravated with it, and even said, "Who wants to live like this?" So, um, I don't know. I don't know with him, and it just that one but he disappeared.
Mhm.
It's not like he went out and killed himself and we found him. He, uh, he disappeared, which is, I think, why all the buzz about these things, because
Right.
there's absolutely no evidence where they went. How far can you possibly walk? And really,
He'd
nobody
be
knows where it
seen
is.
by
When
somebody.
your wife calls the cops 3 hours after you're gone. Um, yeah. So, yeah, it's fishy. I mean, I'm leaning a little towards the elderly thing, but they haven't found him, so that makes me believe there might be a little more to this, and something to the picture that we just don't have. There's a piece we're missing in this, and I don't know that we'll ever see it, but, there's something bigger picture stuff that we're not there's something going on.
Gotcha. Steve, what'd you find on McCaslin?
Look, I mean, I know earlier, Wendell, you were mentioning Eskridge as like your top kind of like person of interest in a sense. Like, look, this guy is the reason why we're having the conversation today. I'm telling you right now, this is the link
He knew a
to at
lot.
least several of them, if not the majority of them. Look, I will say it's interesting. There's a couple things that stood out. I heard a podcaster or somebody on YouTube talking about how they called for this silver alert for him, and there was some criteria in order to call for a silver alert. And it did have something to the essence of irreversible causation to your faculties or something like that. Look, we could be talking dementia, we could be talking, things of that. But I'll say this. Look, if you are an individual with as much knowledge as this guy has regarding the secrets of the United States of America, I often wonder, Wendell, you brought this up. If there is a specific protocol that when somebody has this much secret and knowledge, if you start showing signs of dementia, you don't want somebody like this sitting in a nursing home, or you don't want somebody
Exactly.
like this. I mean, seriously, you don't want something like this. And by the way, it's interesting, Wendell, what you talked about regarding his wife. You know what, the YouTube show that I was watching, it was a true crime. I can't remember the exact name, but it was this wonderful female, and she spent a lot of time on McCaslin, right? She was talking about the weirdness with the wife. Not only the phone call, Wendell, but the fact that the wife has very high ties into this same realm that McCaslin has. Although I don't know if she necessarily was military, but she definitely had her hands in a lot of the same type of stuff or material. She was really high up there. She was a scientist herself. I'm sure she probably had security clearance. And I'm not blaming the wife at all. That's not what I'm
Right.
saying. I'm saying it's interesting, like you mentioned, her reaction to this. Look,
It's almost like she understood it.
yes, I thought the same
Hmm.
thing. And it made me wonder, Wendell, if like we are talking about certain protocol. Look, they're not the type of protocol I'm talking about is not going to be written down anywhere. It's going to be an unspoken rule or unspoken steps that somebody hands you, right? To say, hey, that your time has come, sir. Like, no offense.
Yeah.
Now, it
Yeah.
could mean they did mention him walking away with a pistol. This guy was, I guess, was an avid hiker and knew the surrounding out there near his home. Again, we're talking about another New Mexico individual going missing. But this guy was everywhere. I mean, seriously, this guy was everywhere. Like Wendell said, he grew up in defense.
Yes.
So
Yep.
I'm telling you, when I say this guy knew probably every secret. So anyways, This guy, look, I think when you talk about, these research areas being so compartmentalized that people who work there only know what they're meant to work on, right? That's it. That's the only material and understanding you're going to understand is what you're working on. This guy is the guy with his hands in all of that. So no, I don't think anything's compartmentalized to McCaslin. I think he's one of the top officials with his tentacles and everything, right? I mean, everybody else is as need to know basis, not for this guy. This guy
Right.
knows it all and for good reason. Somebody's got to put together all the pieces of all the research, and this is the guy. So, look, is it a scenario where this guy walked off into the wilderness way out there and I'm guessing people potentially knew? There's a reason why he took not his wearables, right? Not his wearable tech, but he did take a pistol with him. So is this guy going out there taking care of the problem himself, by himself, in an area where he hopes his body's never found? And I'm sure if that's the scenario, I'm guessing his wife knows about, not where he went or anything like that, but rather the steps this guy took. Because when you have that kind of life, you better understand, right?
Yeah,
It's
it's not
like,
a job you used to work at. It's a lifetime thing. So I
absolutely.
think what you said might apply, that it was the time just came. The time, that's the time just came, and there's a protocol. What they do. What's this setting all your cell phone on the table and all your stuff all nice, neat on the table? What's that? A new suicide ritual anymore? I haven't heard that, but
No.
several of these missing ones did exactly that, almost in protocol style. What to
Yeah,
do, and if you think of them all as Lazard types, I'm not saying they were all going to talk, but to say they were, it's a different world now. The
absolutely.
the overseers would have to be much quicker on the draw, um, with social media, with everything like that, and maybe the way they set their phones on the table was a sign or a signal, and, and they went to a pickup place, who knows, wherever whatever was previously planned, so, um yeah, maybe the time just came for it sounds like, or they all got called. The ones
Could
that are
be.
missing
Could
the ones
be.
that are missing, they may have got the call, and, that's that. So
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. It sure does sound like that. Almost like tying up loose ends for this chapter of their research. Maybe that was coming to a close and you got too many secrets and it's time to go. But because Garcia was the other one that took a pistol with him when he left,
mhm,
wasn't he? Yeah. So
yeah.
he
Or
did the
something's
same
still
thing.
going on and they got a call to go, and they're gone.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the other thing is when I'm having a hard time with, if you brought out like the bloodhounds, and you're missing, and they did find an article of clothing from the Caslin. Uh, you would think, because we use search dogs for a lot of people out there, you would think they'd hit on something. Like if these bodies, I can only imagine, are these bodies ever going to be found? Because it's incredible to me to disappear off the face of the
I don't
earth.
think they're dead. I don't.
That could be it.
Matter of fact, what Steve said kinda jarred a lot of that protocol stuff back in my military days. Um, I was never that into that kinda stuff, but, um, I could see that, like, you brought up an interesting thing with his age or his diagnosis. When you get that, you know what steps have to happen next. He was in the house with his wife, she went to the doctor for an hour, and he was gone, and I think when she saw the stuff on the table, she had some idea what was going on.
Or she might have known in advance, Wendell. I mean, look, she still has to make the call, right? She still
Mm,
has to call the police.
exactly.
She still has to, but when you heard that, and again, I'm not saying anything about bad about the wife. I'm very sorry about what she's going through. I'm sorry for her grief. I mean, Lord knows it's extremely tough to lose somebody. But look, you're talking about two individuals who grew up in an environment that we'll never understand. We'll never have even a percentage of an understanding of what it's like to know what they know. And I'll be honest with you, I don't want to. You
Well,
know what I
and
mean?
what Lazar says rings true, that maybe the ones that were keeping it a secret instead of him were the smart ones, because he really has questions, because maybe if we know the truth on what we have or what's out there, that it is so bad that these people are committed to keeping it a secret for what they think is a moral and just reason, not pride for the red, white, and blue, not that. I'm just saying, because maybe the truth is so friggin' awesome, good or bad, um, that you can't handle the truth, kinda thing.
So
Could
just to
be.
sum it up, Jeff, I mean, this McCaslin, this is a 10 out of 10, man. This
Yeah,
isn't a 9
absolutely.
out of 10 or an 8 out of 10. I mean, I think McCaslin is the reason why we're having this conversation today. I really do.
Yeah, I think he kinda
When you
tilt
add it
tip
all up,
tipped it
this is
over.
the guy right here.
Yeah,
So,
yeah, I agree with that.
yep.
And as far as the strange deaths go, Steve, who do you got for? I think it was in Massachusetts.
Yeah, yeah, you know what? I don't think there's at least in my opinion, I mean, look, this is a totally different part of geographical. Uh I kept hearing the term geographical clusters, and I
Yeah,
think what we had just talked about were those clusters. I look, if we're this is one of the ones I'm going to take off the government's hands and say, look, I don't really think you need to spend much time. I'm very sorry about him passing. I'm sure what he was working on was absolutely amazing and wonderful. Could have probably changed humanity in many ways. I mean, look, he fits some of the criteria, which is why I think they put him on the list. Given I think the highest awarded scientific award by President Biden, he was
yeah,
working on like plasma science. Which, look, all of these things could absolutely be into the realm we were talking about: national defense, energy weapons, potentially secrets of national security. I mean, this guy was high up there on that list, but I'm with Wendell on this. I think when it comes to relevance of this list, I think this is a maybe, I'm guessing a 1 to 3, maybe 2 to 5 ish, somewhere on this list. But I wouldn't ask the government to continue down this path. I'd rather them work on some of the other names that we talked about.
Yeah,
So,
the
I agree.
astronomer is interesting too. The
which
Yeah,
one?
astronomer,
Paul Grimaire.
that's interesting too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he was Caltech astrophysicist. He was shot and killed right outside of his home in California. So that one, they do got a person um, in custody, according to what I found for that gentleman. So those two, they were shot and killed, which, like you said, that unfortunately happens quite a bit. Um, there was one that ended up dead. He was found in a lake. I think that was
Yeah.
the gentleman who did cancer research.
Yeah, this is Jason Thomas.
Yes.
Body found March 17th, 2026 in a lake. Death, they said the death was not suspicious. I think there's definitely some suspicion here. And look, I'm no law enforcement officer. God bless them. I'm going to let them make those decisions. Um, but yeah, I mean, this was the guy, no, Novartis Pharmaceutical,
Yeah.
U.S. Department. He was working on some Department of Defense stuff, but you had mentioned it, cancer research and things of that nature. So, yeah, I would definitely think that again. If I'm throwing him on the list, I'm not. Look, is this suspicious? Yeah, I do think. I mean, this is a guy who walked home away from his home and ended up, I believe, somehow found here. So I definitely think there's a little bit more suspicion here, but oh, and another where was he at? Was did they mention where he's at in geographical stand?
I didn't.
That one was Massachusetts as well.
Okay. Okay. So I mean, we're starting to see something up there, but again, I would say probably less. I mean, they did find his body. I mean, look, I think he's way more suspicious than Nuno. You know what I mean? Like, I would definitely give him, and also Carl Grillmare. I mean, the only thing that stuck out about him was his motive not having, like, there was no motive for his murder, which I kind of find a little bit weird for Grillmare. And when we talked about Grillmare, you know, that's another California, ends up over there in that cluster, geographic cluster with some of those other parties. But yeah, but back to Jason Thomas. Look, I think his death to me is a little bit suspicious. Does he deserve to be on this list? I don't know. That's a hard one for me as far as, you know, and again, I'm sorry for him and his family and everything.
Right.
I'm sure Sky would have changed many things in our life, for sure from a science standpoint, but
I don't get the feeling any of these were foreign actors. Do you? I
No,
really
I mean,
that's how
I
how the
no.
news is trying to push it. I don't
yeah,
see that.
yeah. And the one thing is, yesterday, Comer came out, representative from Kentucky. He's calling these places where these people worked at, calling them in to answer some questions in front of the oversight committee. So, I mean, they are taking an interest in this. But the one thing I heard, and I kind of do agree with, is you take Los Alamos, you know, that defense industry itself, you got a large population that works for this companies, and you know, regardless of what part of the research you're in. So you got to kind of watch with some of these. Are they just starting to lump them in? I mean, I don't think this list is going to go away. We'll hit what 13 or something, but like you said with Amy, that was the last one that has been brought up and lumped into this list, and that took place in 2022. But you know, things happen to scientists as well, like the parents were saying. But you know,
Yeah,
you
and
take
there's been 20 more since the beginning, since
right,
the early
yeah,
1900s, but they were during wars. They were, scientists disappearing on planes and boats and things like that. So there's always they're just high profile people.
right.
But these, when you're keeping secrets like this, you're really not supposed to be high profile.
And the one thing I'll say as well is the disappearances are the ones that really sparked my like opened my eyes, because you can't just disappear from the earth. And it's just too weird that from the same area, California, New Mexico, you know, you got so many people that just up and disappear, and sort of a couple of them are in the same fashion too. The deaths you can't explain,
Yeah.
but these you cannot
The
explain
one
at
on the
all.
trail's kinda odd.
That one
Yeah,
is.
yeah.
That one I mean, I think the others have some I don't know, there's something to them, some format to them, whether they were killing themselves, whether they wanted to disappear, whether they were taken or whatever, but there was some kinda format to it. The one on the trail just it is like one of those 411 calls,
Yep.
you know?
Yep.
If anything to me, this feels not so much as foreign, you know, involvement.
Adversaries. Right.
This actually feels more like it's our involvement, clean, like you had mentioned, Jeff, cleaning up. Maybe there's some research that's done. There's this particular project that's completed that needs to remain at the highest level of underground, something to that effect, right? Where you just got some tidying up to do, and then you're going to get to where it is you need to be with this information, or at least for this information never to get out, right? Never to get out, right? So I think it feels more like that, or company, as you know, Wendell had mentioned earlier, This may not be essentially government performed, maybe their company to clean
Mhm.
this up. Their company took care of this. And therefore that's why felt like some of them were attempting to get away before they knew. Like they knew something or somebody was coming for them and they tried to get away before that happened. And they probably just weren't able to, you know what I mean, get away. So I absolutely, you know what? I'm gonna give you guys my silly explanation for the disappearances, right? I couldn't help it as I was starting to go through this. Do you guys kind of remember the end of Close Encounters of the Third Kind?
Yeah, I mean, it's been a while since I watched that movie, but
Okay. What
yeah.
what happened? Do you guys remember the ship lands?
Mhm.
You had the beings come off the spaceship, right?
People that
And
was
they
abducted coming home,
yeah, the people that were and then guess then what was happening, Wendell?
other people going.
Other people going, right? And they asked him to get on the ship too. And he said, and he had a family, he had kids at home, and he got on this ship without even a
Tell you the
hesitation.
truth, the McCaslin one, I thought that.
I mean, not only McCaslin,
I did.
maybe a couple of these people. I mean, look, you go back to the woman who disappeared on the trail. There ain't no better explanation than something coming from up top and just zip you right up in and you're gone, no trace, no smells, no nothing. You are just gone. Beam me up, Scotty. I'll see you I'll see Earth in a couple hundred years when we're moved on. I mean, that's
And you
my
think of
silly
that, though. Think of what McCaslin knows. If what
yes.
he knows is as exotic as us crazy people think it could be, alien intervention and stuff like that, um, maybe there was a better alternative than losing your friggin' mind on Earth in a hospital bed, and it wasn't killing yourself, but maybe there was someplace better to go, and maybe he knew.
Wendell, maybe they could treat him. And you know who I'm talking about.
Yeah, yeah, I know,
Maybe they
and
could offer him something that in the sense of bringing him back, but hey, as a part of that, you're gonna come with us for research for quite some
right,
time,
right.
and you're gonna learn a lot. You're gonna come back. You're gonna provide some information to your government. By then, you're gonna feel better. Age is nothing to them, possibly nothing, right? So I mean, that's what my silly take on this is that they could have just gone onto a ship just like the end of Close Encounters. That would be kind of
Well,
ideal in a sense. Very smart individuals going off to learn something at a higher level that we'll never understand.
my take is, have you guys ever seen that movie with Keanu Reeves where they're trying to get more energy out than they put in from fusion?
I do
Have you
remember
seen it?
that. Yep,
You
I
know what I'm talking
remember
about?
that.
I
Yep.
think as a scientist, there's sometimes when you have a breakthrough, you're screwed. You know what I
I'm
mean?
sure
You've
that's more
pursued
than
it all your life, and when you get a breakthrough, you are screwed, and you know it as soon as you do it. That we just we just developed, what was it, cold fusion or something, getting more energy out of what you put in, which will there's no way in hell our governmental entities are ever letting that out, ever. And you know about it, and you know how to do it. You know how dead you are now.
You're
Um,
dangerous.
and I hate it because everybody on this list, their family's going through tragedy and sorrow, and I feel for them, and I, pray for them and hope some good things come out of the ones that can still come out good. But even with all that sorrow, I am seeing this stuff, people talking about it. Not that it's exciting about what happened to them, but it's exciting that people are talking around the subjects that these people studied, because I think the cat's clawing to get out of the bag myself. That's my take on it. I think the cat isn't almost out of the bag, but it's coming out, and, there's people trying to keep it in, and, but I think that the momentum has started, and I don't think it's gonna stop, and I think more and more is gonna become known on a lot of these subjects, whether it be the energy. um, I always get pulled down. I get all all excited because of the warp bubble stuff we talk about and the travel, and then they always take it to free energy. They always couple it with free energy. And that's like that movie I just told you about. That will never happen. You might as well get it out of your mind. They might tell you that we can travel sideways and up and down and hover in the air because of this anti-gravity. They might tell you that. They're never gonna tell you that you're getting free energy, ever, ever, ever. And, they might use it themselves, which some of these companies probably do, but that kinda brings me down because I always get excited. They're talking about the research these guys are doing, and it's kinda all the anti-gravity things that I think we've cracked already, and they always wanna couple it to, "Yeah, it's means free energy for the world," and it just brings me right back down to reality because it's never happening. It's not gonna happen. There's technology out there now that's better than what we got. The filters last. There's filters out there you don't have to change. There's purification systems out there that can turn salt water into drinkable water, but people won't make money at it, and that's not going to happen. So I wish they would keep the economics out of my extraterrestrial stuff that I'm doing.
Now, McCaslin, he went missing, and then Chavez was the last one missing, as of right now. Am I correct on that, Steve?
I believe so. I
All
believe
right.
so. I know McCaslin,
What?
February 27th, 2026,
Yeah,
Yeah,
but
he was
we
just this February.
yeah, yeah,
right.
and then obviously we talked about, Carl Grillmare was, also February 16th, 2026, so I think 2 of them in February, and then the person who was their body was just discovered, right? Wasn't that just very recently, in the water?
But yeah, that was a while back, that he was discovered in the water.
Oh yeah. So Jason Thomas body found, I think he went missing in mid-December, but his body was found March 17th, 2026.
Right. What
So
I'm saying is Garcia, Steven Garcia, is he the last one to go missing so far, the most recent?
I'm seeing date for him August 28th, 2025 for
Yeah,
Okay.
Steven
McCaslin
Garcia.
was the most
Right.
recent.
McCaslin
Now, the way I'm
and
seeing it right now is we were talking, about tying up loose ends. Now, Garcia, what I was told was he did custodial type of work at some of these top secret places, but who better to make sure everybody follows the program than him? And since McCaslin could have been the last one, and then he's got to disappear, that might have took place, and that's where you kind of should look.
Ah, they're
Now,
digging deep, Jeff. That's good.
yeah,
always
I
got to
just
watch the
That's
janitor,
good.
man. Seriously, I'm not saying
yeah,
he was a janitor, but they clean for a reason, if you know what I'm
yeah,
talking
Well,
about.
yeah,
the same format of those people walking off kinda raised a flag to me,
yeah,
you
yeah.
know, stacking your stuff nice and neat and,
I guess people out there watching. I mean, be careful what you watch and you take a lot of credence in, because there's so many conspiracy theories out there that are
yeah.
taking off right now, and I just urge caution. I mean, it is something to speculate about if you're into speculating, but the disappearances are the ones that I take that are very strange to me, and it's because there's nobody's being found right now, and they're still ongoing. So, what do you guys think about this as a whole?
The, uh, the ancillary conversations are what I am encouraged that's going on around this stuff.
Yeah,
That the craft that they say they found so big they can't move it, that they had to build a building around it, that's back in the news. and,
Is it?
yeah, and, they're trying to find out what country it's in,
Hmm.
the news is anyway,
Yeah.
and so just things like that, it's kinda neat because a lot of people don't talk about the things we talk about, so it's kinda cool when when you know about stuff and then they start talking about it, but sometimes you have to watch them recreate the wheel, like these congressional hearings, about them talking about Gresh or whatever his name is,
Yeah.
when I told you those other 3 said that a long time ago. Um,
Right.
but I think the anti-gravity thing's next, and it's much bigger than the atomic program, guys. It's the biggest secret ever, and I'll be damned, I think they did it, and it's not that our government's gonna be flying those things because our government that we see probably doesn't know a lot about it, except a
Yeah.
few people,
Right.
but
I agree with you there.
but I'm encouraged about the other conversations going on around what these people were into, and that was a very good insight you just had about he may have been the last. I hadn't put that
Yeah.
together, but, he may be in the senior guy.
Right. Yeah, if they start showing up in Argentina somewhere, you know, in tabloids and stuff, then you got something to talk about. But like I said, I just urge people to be very cautious of what you believe in this at this reporting time. Not that you're going to get like the truth from the government or anything, but let's let this pan out and see what happens
What do
here.
you think, Steve?
I would just say, I mean, like we talked about, I'd say about 5 or 6 of these people kind of stand out of the
Mhm.
11. I think there's a lot of people on this list that, although they're either demise is very tragic, and I'm very sorry for their families and everything. Like I said, there's a handful of people on this list that I'd say need to definitely be investigated at a higher much level. The people that went missing, definitely at a high level, and whatnot. I'd say they need to take another look at this gentleman whose body was found in the lake.
Yeah.
I think, no offense, I definitely think that's suspicious because, first of all, I mean, look, it mentioned of possible like walking his dog or something and ended up on the lake. I mean, there's things like
Yeah.
that
It's
could
some
definitely
weird.
happen. Maybe his dog goes running on a lake. He's trying to save the dog, ends up going underneath, something to that
Yeah.
effect. But I think his takes a look. But ultimately, I agree with you, Jeff. I mean, does it need to be a list of 11? No. I'd honestly say there's probably a hot 6 in here that you
Yeah.
could definitely say are much stranger at a higher level. And I'd say again, but I wouldn't run with any conspiracy. I would just say, we'd ask our government to do a deeper look into several of these individuals, but I don't think we'd ever get an answer. At least the
No.
answer
No.
we would think potentially, or so I agree with you. Be careful what your whole conspiracy, because we started this conversation with I think off the air we were talking about it and just like some of these just don't feel, I think they're making a bigger to do, and so yeah, I'd
They
say
need to
we're
find
there.
out what Amy Eskridge wanted to publish, though.
Yeah, oh,
Yeah.
absolutely.
I mean, again, they probably won't tell us, but
No,
No.
no, they won't, it's
they
too
need to
secret.
find out what she wanted to publish, and then, like I said, if you're in that arena, talk quick, because if you wait too long, you never know.
And you know what,
That's true.
Wendell? I honestly, as much as I kind of want to know, I don't want to know. You know what I mean? Like, I don't,
Yeah.
I don't need to know. You know what I mean? It's better for me to just live my dumb life and just make it as long as my body will give. You know what I mean? That's that's where I'm
Yeah.
at.
Right. I hear
So,
you on that, man. But any last words, gentlemen?
No, good discussion, good topic. Like I said, it energized me with just a lot of the stuff around it and everything, and then, talking to you guys brings out some other things to think about as far as the missing people and, like, we feel for the families, I hate for their tragedies, but I really don't think the missing ones are gone, or are passed away, but that's just me.
All right.
any chance I can bring up David Polites in one of our story, and you better believe that missing lady that fits David
Yeah.
Polites to a T.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so Anytime I could bring up David Paulides in one of our buried stories chapters, and you know it's going to be a good chapter. So
Excellent. Well, good talk, gentlemen. And with that, this is Buried Stories. He's Wendell. He's Steve. I'm Jeff Mercurio. If you got some insight into this, please leave a comment below. Hit that like button, subscribe for many more stories coming up. If you got a story that you'd like to share, give us an email at buriedstories74@gmail.com. Until next time, don't let your stories stay buried.